everyone. I've had a lot of requests for this video and I am so sorry that I'm just now getting around to it. I've had several of you ask how I did the self-publishing thing. First of all, I want to say with a lot of help. Thank you so much to Nicole Tillman and Annie England. You guys helped me tremendously. I guess Annie Noblin, sorry. You guys helped me tremendously figure out, with the proofreading and with trying to get on Amazon and advertising and all that good stuff. Thank you. You guys are awesome. And I would also very much like to thank Leona Somoza and Kelsey McMullen. They are in the credits of the book on the copyright page if you haven't looked at it. Leona did all of the computer work for all my illustrations. She put in all of the background fills and everything because when I tried to do it, it looked like someone gave a chimpanzee a computer and said go nuts. So thank you so much for all your help on that. Kelsey designed the typography or typography, whatever the word is, for the font for the cover. And that is amazing. Thank you so much. It's so cool to have friends that are in the arts and are very talented. So thank you, ladies, so much. And I have linked Nicole's Amazon store, places where you can buy Annie's book, Kelsey's website, and Leona's art Facebook page. So you should all definitely go check all of those very talented ladies out. So down to it, I have everything written down here in front of me because you guys know me and I'm not going to be able to keep a train of thought very well. But why I chose to self-publish, first of all. If you know me, you know I'm not very patient. And self-publishing seemed like the quickest route to get something done. So that's part of it. And I just wanted to see how it went. I didn't want to spend months and months and months trying to promote something that wasn't going to do that well or be that great. I just wanted to see how it would go. So self-publishing was the right route for me. I really enjoyed this process so far. And I don't know, it might not be right for you. If you want to write a book and write your inquiry letters and try to get a publisher and a publicist and all that good stuff, that's fine. But if you just want to see how it is and kind of get your feet wet and test the waters, and if you're a control freak, self-publishing is for you, maybe. And I get a lot of questions about when you go on to publish through Amazon, it'll give you two companies. You can go through CreateSpace or you can go through Kindle Direct Publishing. I ended up using Kindle Direct Publishing. And for the simple fact that CreateSpace glitched out on our computer. And it just didn't work for us. So I went on Kindle Direct Publishing and it worked just fine. I have nothing negative to say about CreateSpace. It would not work for me. Went on KDP, worked just fine. So that was the deciding factor there, is which one worked on my computer. Now, the only thing with CreateSpace, when it would glitch out and it would tell me that there were errors, it really didn't give me an option to troubleshoot. So I'm guessing that's just on my computer's end. And I don't know, if you try to use CreateSpace and you have the same issues, you might want to talk to their, customer support or whatever. But I just thought, well, CreateSpace didn't work, I'll try KDP. If KDP hadn't have worked, I would have, explored other options and talked to their customer support and stuff like that. But KDP worked and I liked it. And so I really didn't see any point in investigating into the CreateSpace deal. Your manuscript. Have a lot of people read your manuscript, especially if it's a children's book and it's like a quick read and you can have teacher friends or parents be like, hey, can you read this to your kid and make sure it's not terrible? I would really appreciate it. That's what I did. I gave it to some of my coworkers, and had them read it, and no one just flat out told me this is terrible. You should never show this to another living soul. So I thought, okay, well, I guess that's a good sign. I'm gonna move forward with this. And if you are doing the children's book route, and I know, I'm sorry, this is like back and forth. I'm reading off of my stay on task Katie cards. So, you've got your manuscript. People told you it didn't stink, so you need illustrations. If you do your own illustrations, or honestly, if you do them yourself or you have someone else do them, you need to make sure, okay, if you choose your book size is 8.5 by 8.5, you need to make sure that if you do your illustrations that size, that you need to leave a good 1/2 inch border around everything for cutting purposes. Like when Amazon or Kindle Direct or whatever print your book, you need to make sure that you leave an area where your illustration isn't going to be potentially cut off. That happened with a few of mine, but it wasn't so bad that I was like, oh man, that totally takes away from the illustration. So I just left them the way it was. If you're doing your own illustrations and you're hand drawing them like I did, you're going to need a really good high quality scanner, and you're going to need access to Photoshop. I did not have a high quality scanner. I tried to do it myself the first time. I took pictures with my fancy camera and uploaded them to my Photoshop, and I tried to do the background colors, and it looked hideous. So I gave my illustrations to Leona Smoza, and she has a good scanner, and she scanned them in, and she did the background fills for me, and they're flawless and they're perfect, and she did an amazing job. So if you have a friend or you know someone in your community that can do that kind of service for you, look into it. Or if you're a fast learner and you're good with computers, play with it and try and do it yourself. Or do your illustrations on the computer and use the shapes and everything. Just whatever works for you. You can be pretty free with your illustrations. Just be aware that if you do them by hand, you're going to need a way to upload them as a JPEG file. So when you upload your images or when you save your images or whatever, you need to make sure that you save them as a JPEG and that you change the dots per inch to 300. It's as high as it'll go. I didn't think it was really that big of a deal. And to be perfectly honest, I still don't know why it's that big of a deal, because I had some illustrations that for whatever reason, once they uploaded to KDP, said that it was only like 96 DPI and it might cause blurry printing, but it didn't. The printing's just fine. So yes, it's good to err on the side of caution and save all of your illustrations and images at 300 DPI, but as far as I can tell, it really hadn't made that big of a difference for me and my illustrations. It might be different for you, but that's just my 2 cents on that. Now, the program that I used to put all of it together, when Leona sent me my illustrations with all the background fills in them and everything, I tried initially to use Microsoft Publisher and put it all in as like an actual book or a booklet or whatever. Every time I tried to save it, it said there was an error. And again, that was probably my computer thing, and I'm not smart enough to figure that out. So I did some looking on YouTube. Sorry, I have oil pastel on my hands left over from work. So I got on YouTube and I watched some other self-publishers do their children's books and what programs that they used. And I saw a guy that used Microsoft PowerPoint. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll give that a shot. And that worked so much better for me. I don't know if it was like the file type or the program or what that our computer just wasn't jiving with, but Microsoft PowerPoint worked. So what I did is I went into Microsoft PowerPoint and I made as many slides as there were pages in the book. With KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, I think that the minimum number of pages in a children's book is 24 pages. That's how many pages my book had, and it really didn't need a full 24, so I feel like 24 was the minimum for them. even if you have blank pages, you need to make sure that you insert all of those as individual slides in your PowerPoint document. And then once you put in all your slides, you need to change your slide size to whatever size you want your book to be. So if you do an 8.5 by 8.5 book, you need to change your slide sizes to 8.5 by 8.5. If you do a 8 by 10 book, you need to change those specs. Now, one thing, it won't be exactly 8.5 by 8.5. KDP or CreateSpace will tell you how to set the specs on your JPEG files. So when you go in to do either on Publisher or PowerPoint, you can go on KDP and it will tell you exactly what size each page needs to be in order to upload correctly and have that cutoff space around it. So I think for an 8.5 by 8.5 book, I had to set my specs at like 8.75 by 8.625 or something like that. It was just very, very little from the 8.5 by 8.5. Okay, so what I did is on those slides, when I made my 24 slides, I made my title page and I used one of my images that Leona doctored up for me, and I just put that as the title page. Then I put the font that Kelsey designed over that and saved that. And I went to the next slide. I did my copyright page. I just typed in my copyright. When you self-publish, the copyright is you. Like copyright 2017 Kathleen Chahoy. Of course, unless otherwise stated, unless you're working with someone else or whatever. So then beyond that, you just need to insert your JPEG illustrations and overlay the text on top of it. If you're writing a children's book, it is a safe bet to stick with an easy to read font. Darn train. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm so sorry if you can. It's best to stick with an easy to read font like Times New Roman or something like that, something traditional that everyone can read. It's clear, it's crisp, and to do a big-ish font, but not massive. Because I know those children's books that have like the funky fonts and everything are really cool, but especially if you're writing for really little people like I was, I think I used Times New Roman and I used like 16 and 18 point font. And it turned out just fine. Now it depends on your illustrations and how it all fits in, of course, but that's what worked for me. And I used an easy to read, clean, clear font. Now, the other big thing with self-publishing on CreateSpace or KDP is that your cover files are a different file from your internal pages. So, like on KDP, when you go in to upload your book files, the inside, the meat of your book, that will be one upload, and it will ask you for another upload. It will give you the specs for cover art, and you will put the front cover and the back cover on the same slide or document or whatever. Excuse me. So, like I put like I'm looking at a computer screen, I put my front cover on the right side and my back cover on the left side. So it kind of looked basically backwards from what you would actually look at it. So I did that, and it will give you the specs, like I said, of the size that actual file needs to be as well. Then you'll upload that as a separate file. It'll be like your cover pages, and it'll be a totally separate file. So after you do that, after you upload everything, you've proofread it 1,000 times, and you have yelled and made up cuss words at your computer and get it all uploaded, it takes about a day for Amazon or KDP or CreateSpace or whatever to kick it back to you and say, yeah, this is cool, or there might be a few errors in it. Now, like I said earlier, mine kicked mine back to me because it said some of my illustrations were only 96 DPI or 180 DPI, so they might be blurry. I got so tired of fighting with it that I just approved it. And it didn't end up making any difference. Now, like I said, with your illustrations, if it's super detailed, it might make a difference. With mine, it didn't. So I just went ahead and pushed it through and it was fine. Now, once you approve it and Amazon or whatever says that, yeah, this is good to go, it takes about another day for it to go live. Now, it will tell you it takes up to 7 days or something like that to go live. My own experience plus stuff that I've looked at from other self-publishers online, it doesn't usually take that long. It usually takes like 1 to 3 days for it to go live. When it goes live, you will get an email saying, hey, your book's live and available for purchase. And that's kind of a cool feeling. Setting your price. KDP will, and I think CreateSpace will too, give you a ballpark price where like you'll still make a little bit of royalties, but you can set it from that price. Like I think the estimated price it gave me for my book was like $9.26 or something. So I just made it $9.99. So it'd be pretty much just a $10 book. And that way KDP and the printer and the shipper and everything would get their money and I would get my royalties of whatever was left after they did their jobs. So there's that. And another thing, your prices may change. Don't freak out because the price of my book changed because I published my book the day before Thanksgiving. It went live the day before Thanksgiving. And of course, Cyber Monday was coming up. And I had kind of skimmed the like rules of changing your price and running a sale or a promotion or whatever, but I hadn't really dug deep into it. So when my price dropped almost by half, I was like, I did not approve this. What's going on? Well, it's not a big deal. I emailed their KDP support system or whatever. I heard back very quickly. I think it was less than 12 hours that I heard back from them. And they just said, it's up to Amazon where they set their prices. It doesn't affect your royalties at all. So don't worry about it, basically. So I haven't worried about it. And my price has gone back to the original price of $9.99 since then. So whatever. And my royalties haven't changed. They haven't been affected. Now, your book's gone live. You've set your price, all that good stuff. Advertising. I cannot sell water to a man in the desert. So when it came to marketing and advertising, I was just like, I don't want to be that person at all of like trying to push this down people's throats and make people feel like they have to buy one. I don't want to be that guy. But word of mouth is a powerful tool, especially if you live in a small community like I do. This teacher buys this book and that teacher tells their sister-in-law who's got 3 kids under the age of 5, and then that mom tells this parent who tells this grandma. And word of mouth's a big deal, and you guys know that with books in general. I mean, where do we hear about most of the books we even read in the first place? Someone tells us about them, right? I did end up taking out a Facebook ad. It's the cheapest advertising you can do. I paid $7. I paid $1 a day for a week-long ad. It reached like 300 some people, and I'm pretty sure that I got some sales off of that ad. So it might be something to consider. It's a cheap way to advertise, and it's not forceful. And the process to create a Facebook ad is super simple. They walk you through it step by step. It's no big deal at all. Another way, especially if you're an educator considering writing a children's book to advertise, is on Teachers Pay Teachers. And what I'm planning on doing is making some teaching resources to go with my book and put my resources on my Teachers Pay Teacher store for free. But put the book title with the resources, so maybe the book sales will increase and my Teachers Pay Teacher store will get a little bit of traction too. All right. People have asked me about royalties. Unless you sell your book for an astronomical amount, or it's a paperback like novel where there's not much color printing or anything, you're not gonna make a ton. I sell my book for $9.99 and I think I get $2.34 of every book that I sell. And I didn't publish this to make money. Like, I just published it to just see what would happen. And I had the idea, and anybody that knows me knows I'm a, well, why not kind of person. So I just did it. It's not a huge money-making thing. I don't expect to be on any kind of online bestseller list or kids can't put this book down. But, you know, it's nice to, you know, consider that as, if you don't need the money, like mad money, or put it back for vacation money or whatever. And with the way this works, you get a royalties check about 3 months after you make $100. So I can't even remember how much my first month it was published, but I broke the $100 mark. So I should get my first royalties check like at the end of this month or the beginning of February. But you have to break that $100 mark before they will process and start getting stuff together to send you a royalties check in 3 months. I hope that makes sense. But that's how the royalties works. If you have any other questions at all, because I'm sure I forgot something, like I'm looking at my notes and I'm thinking, man, that wasn't actually very much. But I guess I've talked for 20 minutes, so maybe it was a lot. I don't know. But if this helps, tell me. If you never want to see my face again and this just confused you even more, tell me so I know not to do this anymore. And if you have any other questions, feel free to ask me, message me, whatever. You can do it on my art page or on my personal page if we're friends. And that's really all I have. That's all I can think of. I hope that if you have been considering publishing or self-publishing, that this helps some and kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. And, you know, if you know someone that's wanting to self-publish or wanting to get into the, you know, writing game or whatever, if this helps, then awesome. If it doesn't, tell me and I won't do this anymore. But I appreciate all of you who've been asking. I hope this answers your questions, and I will talk to you guys probably closer to OzCon, because I got some new and exciting stuff coming up then too. I hope you all have a good night.